guys, it's me, Cali. Today I'm super excited to be sharing these really cool moon charms that I created for this month's Gypsy Witch project. Our theme this month was upcycling or repurposing, and I decided to create these moon charms using some galaxy stones I had made. And I used polymer clay, dollar store gems, nail polish, paper clips, wire, ribbon. I had a blast creating these, you guys, and I know you're going to love them too. They're perfect for gift giving or just to hang out. I made magnets out of them, pendants, keychains, little wall hangings. I mean, I couldn't stop creating. So I hope you'll join me as I share with you my process in doing this, and I hope I inspire you to create some of your own. Make sure you check out my gypsy sister, Miss Rita Marie, when you're finished watching this video. And I'll also leave all the links to everything I used to create this, as well as links to our Gypsy and Witch group on Facebook and Miss Rita's channel as well. So stick around. I'll show you how I did it. Okay guys, let's get started. Our theme this month was to recycle or upcycle something and incorporate a sun or a moon theme. About 2 years ago, I made a video making these galaxy stones out of Dollar Tree gems. There are a million videos showing how to do these. I've used them for various projects, but I've had a lot of these and I thought, why not incorporate these? I'll link the video that I created these below, but in case you don't know, I've just used a clear Dollar Tree gem and some nail polish. And what I like to do is use a glitter polish first and then cover up with something dark. And this is a very metallic-y kind of a blue. So you just paint the flat side with glitter first. And you could do as much or as little as you want. Okay. And then when you let that dry, you go over it with the darker blue color or whatever you choose. And I have an example right here. And they're just very celestial and cool, and I love them. I have a lot of fun with these. So I had a bunch and I thought, why not just make some gems and create our project today? So you're going to need some type of a gem. And then the next thing that we're going to do is work with some clay. And I have chosen to work with some Premo clay by Sculpey. And today I'm going to be using black and white. You can use whatever colors you like because you could always paint over these. Polymer clay is very easy to alter. So don't be afraid if you only have gray or something, you can definitely use it. And the first thing that we're going to do is to condition our clay. And that just means that we're going to make it nice and soft and roll it around. You can, if you're lucky enough to have a pasta machine to roll it out flat, you can use that. If you don't, you can always use an acrylic roller, the side of a can, anything like that. So condition your clay really nicely. And the first thing we're going to do is make our moon and stars. Now I've already rolled out some clay on the setting 3 on my pasta machine, which is 1 is the thinnest. So I just have a piece of glass here I'm going to work on, excuse the glare, and I've already just rolled out a small piece. And we're going to cut some stars out of it. Now, you could do these freehand with something like an X-Acto knife, which I use all the time. And just, you know, cut out small stars. Or you could use a clay cutter or a fondant cutter for people who work with cakes and things. Okay, just small star shape. I do have a, I think this is a Wilson cake cutter. And we're just going to punch out some stars. And I've already done that. Okay, and then you can just lift this right off and they should come right out. A little hard to see the white on white, but okay. So I have a bunch of stars, and again, you could do them yellow or gold. I just find white is easy to work with, white and black, because, you know, again, it accepts color easily. So we have our stars, and next we're going to make a moon. So I happen to have a moon mold. This is a cosmic moon mold by Amico, and I will put a link to the mold below. If you don't have a mold, you can certainly freehand a moon. I have a sun and moon polymer clay tutorial, which I'll link below, where I show how I free-handed, kind of sculpted a moon out of clay. But it's super easy, you guys. You just make a crescent moon shape, and you can use your tools to kind of etch in a face. I have done one already. Sorry about the lighting here. And you can just see small details, and I just put those in with a little Sharpie tool. And so that's an option if you don't have a mold, okay? I do have a mold, and I'm going to use it, and I like to just give them a spritz. So my clay, it's very warm in here today. So I'm just taking a little ball, and I'm going to do a smaller moon for this project, but I'll show you some examples of when we're done of using a larger one. So I'm just flattening out my clay, and I'm literally going to, I don't care about fingerprints or anything like that. We're going to texturize this. I'm literally going to fit it into the shape I want, and I'm just pressing trying not to shift it. Okay, I don't care about the excess. I'll cut that off, and there we have our face. Okay, now again, going back to our X-Acto knife, you could trim around this, make it all nice and even. I've already done that. I have a little moon here, and okay. Excuse me. Now that we have our moon and our stars, I want to make them sparkle a little more. And again, you can save this, you can do this before you bake it or after. I am going to do it before, and I'm going to be using some of this Pearl X mica powder. This is in pearl white. You could do blue if you want, for a blue moon, or any color that calls to you. If you don't have mica powders, you can use eyeshadows. You could use chalk pigments. You know, there are many options. So I just have a small brush here. Excuse me again. And I'm going to dip in my brush. A little goes a long way, so we're going to tap out in the jar lid. And I'm just going to go over our moon, stars, okay, and I am going to be putting a gem in our stars after they're baked. So in anticipation of that, I'm going to please excuse me, you guys, I'm fighting off a cold here. In anticipation of that, I'm going to put a little round place for our gems to go. Okay, I'm just using a small tool. You could use a knitting needle. All right, so I'm just setting up a little place. You don't have to do this, but this makes your gems, you know, nestle in a little easier. Okay. And also to give our moon some texture, and I love using this thing, I have an old toothbrush, And I'm just going to, and you don't have to be so gentle. You can really kind of get in there, and it works well without distorting the features or anything. Okay? And you can even give the stars a little bit of texture too. Okay? So we're going to set that aside. Okay, now I'm going to let me just take a break here 1 second and get some black clay. I'll be right back. Okay guys, I'm back with the black. I've preheated my oven to 275 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm conditioned my black clay, and the first thing we're going to do is roll out the back of our pendant, and you want this to be pretty thin. So I did this on a number 3 setting, and I'm not sure if I said correctly before, a number 1 setting is my thickest on my pasta machine. So this is number 3. And then I'm going to go back to my spray bottle and spritz this lightly. And now we are going to texturize. And I am using a texture sheet. I believe this one is from Walnut Creek, but you can use whatever you'd like, or even household items. I'm just going to lay this over this and take my black acrylic roller and pressing firmly, we're going to put some texture on that sheet. Okay, now we're going to do this twice. We're going to do this on a piece that's on the number 3 setting, and then a thicker setting, the number 1 setting. I've also rolled out a piece here. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing to both pieces, and then I'm going to do the same thing to both pieces. This is a jar lid. I didn't have the size circle I wanted, so I just looked around and I found a jar lid, and I'm just going to press it down, and again, using my X-Acto knife or whatever clay cutter you have, go around the outside edge. Be careful. And we're going to have our circle. Now, like I said, you're going to do this twice. The thinner piece is going to be our back, and the thicker piece is going to be our front. And just to save time, I've done that already. And on our front piece, so I have a back here that's already done. Where's my blade? Okay, here's our back, and then I had another circle for the front, and all I did was I cut out the same, and then in the center I came in with a smaller circle and cut it out. Made a donut. Okay, so we're actually going to be putting these together like this. All right, but before we do that, I want to put some mica powder on mine. Now, again, this is optional. Decorate however you would like. But this is what I'm going to do. And again, I have my Pearl X powder, and this time I'm going in with purple, which I think looks great against the black. And we're just going to very liberally go around. Both pieces. Okay. And again, once it's done baking, you can further embellish this, but this is just to kind of get it started here. All right. So then, now comes decision-making time. If this is going to be a magnet, you just continue ahead and we'll wait to the end and glue a magnet on it. If it's going to be a pendant or a keychain, we need to add a bail, and you can either buy a bail, or I'll show you a simple one that I made. Or if it's going to be a wall hanging, we could add a little tab, which I love to use, pop tabs, and embed that in the clay on the back. And I'll show you examples at the end of all of these, but for this purpose right now, we're going to make a pendant. So I'm going to flip our back over, and before we put this down, I'll show you, I have a couple examples of, I have clay on my hand. Surprise, surprise. These I made out of paper clips. This one I made out of a piece of wire. I just did a spiral and a bail at the top. Now this is not a jewelry making tutorial, so I'm not going to go into wire making basics, but I will show you how to do this simple bail out of a paper clip. Excuse me. Here we have a paper clip, and we are going to use some wire cutting tools, or wire tools, pliers, that's the word. I have some cutters and round nose and just chain nose, I guess. Taking a paper clip, and I'm just going to open it up. Now if you don't want to mess with any of this, you could just use this as is. Cut it off here. You know, you could even bend it back and forth, okay? And just make sure you embed this good in the clay. Kind of turn the edges up if you want. But if you want to go a little, not fancier, but I think it's a little sturdier, I'm just going to cut this here. And make sure you use, you know, safety goggles, or watch out for flying metal scraps, okay? And now I have my round nose pliers, and I'm just going to hold this just like that tightly, and we're going to wrap the wires without moving the plier. Just wrap the wire around on both sides, okay? Push it together, and then when you're happy with that, take it out. All right, and you can kind of push this together if you want. Doesn't really matter to me. And then just to give a little hook for the clay to better adhere to, I'm just turning this with my plier and making a little hook, and I'm going to do this on both sides. Now this will all be hidden in the clay, so I don't care how pretty it looks. The only thing that's going to show is the circle up top. Okay, so there you have that. Now let's assemble our pendant. Okay, back to, here's the back. I am going to use some Bacon Bond. If you don't have this, you could use liquid Sculpey, you could use PVA glue, or you could use nothing at all. The clay will adhere to itself, but this does help. So I am going to use some, and we're just going to, now I'm going to kind of put it everywhere down here because the stone's going to go on this as well as the moon. And before I lay that down, I'm going to just kind of gently add that. You don't want it pushed out the back, but you do kind of want it, you know, in there firm. And then, same thing, I'm just going to add a little bit around the edges here. And this does not have to be perfect. We're going to be trimming it up. Now, if you were going to do the wall hanging at this point, you would just put these two circles together, flip it over, and like I said, just put this gently into the inside of the clay, leaving this piece out here. or you could lay it here and put another piece of polymer clay over the back. But I do like to use them, and sometimes I'll even give them a little bend. So when you hang them up, they have a little bit of a easier time catching. So again, I'll show you an example of that, but for now, we are here, and we're just gonna meet these edges up till you're happy with it. And then we're gonna take one of the beautiful stones we made. Again, I'm gonna put some Bacon Bond on the end of this. Put it in our bezel, if you will. And then I'm going to go back to our moon and stars here. And I'm going to take our moon, and we're going to put some Bacon Bond on the back of him as well. Sorry guys, this is why I usually store these upside down. And I'm going to just put a little bit more here. So we'll be covering up that bezel, and we're going to nestle the moon kind of around the stone. See how easy that just went in there like that? And then using my tools, I'm going to play around with this and get it set up the way that I want, okay? So you can just go back and forth. I just have some very basic clay tools. And same thing with these edges. Check the back. You can trim it if you'd like. And when I like to, again, go back to this toothbrush, and I'm a big fan of just texturing the edges, but you can finish these however you'd like, all right? So you're going to do all that. And then last but not least, and I will play with this a little more before I put it in the oven, guys. Make sure you have everything the way you want it. If at this point you would like to do like polymer swirls, using clay, you know, these are all design elements if you want, but I have a clay extruder here, and you could always, you know, make some snakes if you want, and make little, you know, these are all design elements that, depending on how you want things to go, but, you know, swirls and spirals are very easy to create just using these little pieces, and you can curl them and, you know, let your design speak to you, all right? So, but if you do want to add those clay elements, you want to add them before you bake them, or you could bake it as is and then add your elements and rebake again, okay? I am not a polymer clay expert, but I do know that much. So yeah, you're going to play around, you're going to texture up your edges, make it exactly how you want it. I am going to be adding just one star here, and I'll come back in with other embellishments when this is done baking. Okay, but I do know that I want that there, and I'm going to add a little of the Bacon Bond on the back of the star as well. Okay, and there you have it. Okay, guys, now I'm going to put this on a tile, and like I said, we are going to bake this for about 40 minutes. And then I will see you. I'm going to, you know, adjust these edges up before I put this in, but just to let you know, I will do that, put it in the oven, and I'll see you back here in 40 minutes. Okay, this is nice and cool now. I think it looks great. If you see any jagged edges or anything you want to sand down, You can use some sandpaper. I like to use an emery board. You could go around the edges, anything like that if you want. And at this point, you could go right in with some metallic luster, which will bring out the texture. But before I do that, you know, again, this is up to your imagination, however you want to embellish and decorate. But I like to kind of antique things with paint. So instead of using black, which I would normally do, I'm going to use some of this Deco Art Americana in ultramarine blue. And I've already put some on a plate here. And I've watered it down. And, you know, you don't want it, well, you can do however you want. I like it a little thin. And we're going to brush this on, and then I have a paper towel, a damp paper towel here, and we're going to blot it off. So let's make this a little, and this is going to bring out the features of the moon and the texture on the edges. So don't be afraid, and we'll be cleaning up the stone when we're all done. So if you have anything on the glass, and you can always go over that purple again with more mica powder, or again acrylic paint or metallic rubs, however you want. But I'm just going to go all over the whole thing, getting in all the nooks and crannies, and even on the back. And the edges. And then before any of that can really have a good chance to dry, I'm going to just get right in with this paper towel here and start blotting it off. Now, it may look like you're just removing all the paint, but trust me, it stays and emphasizes . Okay guys, I'm back, and I apologize that cut off. I actually had to change cameras. I was having some audio issues. So here's hoping to one day. Anyway, all that you missed was the fact that I was saying I was going to put on a second coat of the paint, which I did. And you can see it just brings out the texture nicely. So now, and this may be a bit of overkill, but I am going to come in with some of this Deco Art Metallic Luster, and you can use any of these kinds of things. I have Rub and Buff, which is gold. I have some of this Nouveau Mousse, which is really nice. But we're just going to go with the silver right now, and very lightly, I'm using a brush. I'm going to just... and start out with a little. You can always add more, but I'm going to just lightly brush across and just, again, bring out that pattern. Go right in with my finger. Okay. And I'm going to do the same thing on the front. This is all optional, guys, but I'm just showing you an example. And I had so much fun making these that I made a bunch, and I did pendants and a keychain and a wall hanging and some magnets, and I'll show them all to you when I'm done with this here. Okay, I'm even gonna lightly touch on our moon and our star. And this next part, again, this is all optional, but I'm going to choose to put on some wire embellishment, and I'll kind of show you what I'm thinking here. I've already created some, and I'll show you how I did it, but I made these little horseshoes with spirals on the end, and my thought is to, you know, place them around. I forget which order I had them in, but I'll play with them. And place them down somehow. You get my drift. Like that, okay? Something like that. And I could have done this prior to baking and actually pressed this metal into the clay, but I chose not to. I'm going to add them now. And these I've already done, and I am going to use some of my E6000, and I'll just put a bead of it around and lay these down one by one, okay? And I'm also going to, I could show you this now, do a little gem in our star here. So I'm just putting a little teeny tiny bit, and I have some embellishments already. Use what you want. I'm going to use a purple one. Actually, you know what? Let's go in with the Aurora Borealis, shall we? Look at that. Okay. Now, you could rim this whole thing with stars. There's a lot, but like I said, I'm going to incorporate the silver swirls. So I'll let that dry, and I'll show you. Like I said, I've already done these, and I'll do the gluing off camera, maybe. So yeah, I use some artistic wire, 18 gauge in silver. I have some gold. I have some copper. Whatever you choose to use, okay? Some wire. And I've already cut off a piece. You can just kind of guesstimate around, you know, when you're playing with your wire, how much you're going to need. And if you want to make it rounder, you can wrap it. I used this cookie cutter just because I had it here. But okay, so you can actually kind of shape it that way. And this is just an example, but I'm going in again with my round nose pliers, and I'm just going to make little spirals on the end. Alright. And again, you guys, this is not a jewelry tutorial, but I just keep it really simple, and you know, you can almost feed the wire around by itself. Okay, but just to make, I love spirals, right? And then do the same thing on the other end, but just go in the opposite direction, or however you want. I just like to play around. I love mixed media. I love combining different elements. Okay, so when you have a bunch of those, or as many as you want, like I said, I kind of figure out my design here, and alright, that's how it went. This one, and then this one. I'll show you. I'll do it right here. It gets a little messy. Use this in a well-ventilated area. This glue is super toxic, but I'm just going to lay some down here, and this will dry clear. You're not going to see it, you know, but try to be a little bit careful with it. And I am also going to put a little bit on the ends of the spirals. And this is just kind of to show you as a for instance. And is that true? No, I wanted this guy down first. See? So I'm just going to play with it until I'm happy. And my fingers are full of glue. Yeah, there we go. And then you're going to want to let this dry at least overnight, you guys. Look how cool that looks. Alright. And then the last one, I just wanted to, yeah, I'm going to play with these a little before I let them settle, but this last guy, I didn't do a swirl on the end. I'm just going to kind of slide it in down there. So, let's see. Like I said, any of this that dries, that it easily comes off once it's dry. So, alright. So something like that. And I have these clips to kind of help me dry them. So this is what we're looking like. Doesn't that just really add so much? And again, you could do that out of clay or whatever, but I just love the look of the wire. So when you get it the way you want it, I'm just going to use these little clips here to kind of help keep it in place. And see, it's sticking up there, so I'll go around. Until they dry, and just kind of hold them in place. Alright, and then the last thing, when that's dry, the only thing we'll have to do is put some cord in it and glaze it. Well, we'll glaze it first. Okay, so I'm gonna let this dry, and when the metal is dry, like I said, I will be glazing it with some liquid Sculpey. Okay, and I just brush that on with a paintbrush. I'll do one coat, front and back, and again, let it dry overnight. And then, now I'm going to show you guys some other examples of ones I've created, and then I'll come back in the morning and we'll see them all together with this one dry. And I'm just going to use some, this is like a faux suede cord to hang it. You could use chain, anything like that. So let's let this dry. I'll set this aside. I'm actually going to put one more little clamp just to hold this guy down. And yeah, let me see what we got. Okay, first I'll show you some pendants, and these are just different examples, you guys. Just kind of showing you options, okay? So here's one that I did with copper wire. Okay, and this is super similar to what we just did, actually. And like I said, I just put it on some cording and made it adjustable on the sides. Nothing fancy, folks. So there's that. And here's another one. This guy, I did do the swirls with Polymer Clay, and didn't use any wire. And this is a bigger moon, obviously. And I love the blue. And I just did a variation with the cord, and I added some ribbon also, and some beads. Simple closure on the end. You know, again, you can get as fancy or as simple as you want. For me, it's just as easy to tie a knot in the cording. Here is just something, one of the earlier ones that I made when I was playing around with this, and this doesn't really have a bezel. It's just the stone with the moon. Pretty simple, but different. And this is with the black clay and silver, so it's just a different look. And again, just the simple cording. I'll take good pictures of these too. Here's another example, kind of similar to what we just did, although this has a bigger moon, and this is more blue and white. I did the white clay. Just showing you guys examples. And this cording, I just braided some rat tail ribbon, satin ribbon, and some other ribbon. You could hang these in the car as car charms, or like a light pole. There's all kinds of uses for them that I can think of. And here's a smaller pendant. Again, this is just more without a bezel, really just the stone wrapped. And I think this bead on top kind of makes it look like a mini potion bottle. More satin cording and just simple magnetic closure at the top. So these will make great Christmas and Yule gifts this year. Okay, those were the pendants. I also did a keychain just to show you that you can, and I think these came out really cute. Again, this is more of just wrapped around the stone itself with a smaller moon, and I'm still picking glue off my fingers. And then I just added a jump ring at the top and a little bit of chain and a big split ring for a keychain. Love. Okay, so wouldn't that be a cute Christmas gift? I think so. And these split rings are super cheap, you guys. You can get, 500 of them for a couple dollars. I get all my stuff on Amazon. Okay, and the next thing I'm going to show you is a wall hanging. Remember I told you with the pop tab, okay? So we have this, and again, it's the bigger moon. It's black with, purple and the copper wire. Just gorgeous. I've already tried this out on the wall. It works. So, super happy with that. And then the rest are magnets. And I've just used, again, I get everything on Amazon, but these are neodymium magnets, super strong. I got like 12 of them for under $5, I think. So I just glue these right on with the E6000, okay? And you could turn anything into a magnet, but, whoa. Here is the big moon, the white one. Again, with the blue paint, I just think it looks great. And these are super strong magnets, so they'll hold, your grandkids' schoolwork or your schedule or whatever, you just on the refrigerator. And then here's this dark one, the dark side of the moon. Okay. So same concept. This one has the bling on the outside, obviously. just giving you guys ideas, you know. I'm sure you will come up with your own. And please make sure you tag me and show me what you're working on. And, you know, I'd love it if you share me and give me a shout out. It's my favorite. And then 2 more small magnets. Okay. There's this little guy here. It's not really, I didn't really do much to the stone on the edges here. This was when I first started playing around with this idea of what I wanted to do. And then this guy, where there is more of a bezel. Okay. So I'm going to, again, let our, yeah, let me pull all these out so you can see them. I'm going to let our other guy dry. And I will see you in the morning, in the daylight. There's so many. I wound up with a dozen, an even dozen. So, I have to give some of these away for sure. All right, guys. I hope this is inspiring you. I will see you in the morning when everything's dry and glazed, okay? And yeah. Okay, good morning. This is nice and dry now. And I went ahead and cleaned the stone with a little acetone. You could use nail polish remover just on a Q-tip, and cleaned up the paint and the glue. And I strung it on some of that faux suede that I showed you, and voila, it's a pendant. So I've really enjoyed sharing this with you guys. I hope you've enjoyed it as well. I'm going to insert some pics of everything. Let me know which one is your favorite. I hope I've inspired you to create your own. Please check out all the links in the description box below. If you care to join Miss Rita and I over at our Facebook group, The Gypsy and the Witch, make sure you go check out Rita's video, and I'll put a link to all the supplies that I've used. So have a beautiful, blessed day. Peace and love. I'll talk to you guys soon.